It wasn't a drill, it wasn't a warning, it was war falling from the sky. Just after 2 o'clock in the morning, local time, a missile fired from Iran struck the heart of a residential building in central Israel. Within seconds, families were thrown from sleep into chaos, as concrete crumbled and fire lit the night. The missile, confirmed by Israeli defense sources to be of Iranian origin, made direct impact on a 6-story apartment block in the city of Netanya, north of Tel Aviv. As of the latest updates, 21 confirmed dead, with emergency crews warning the toll may rise. Over 50 injured, many in critical condition, with burns, fractures, and internal trauma. Dozens still unaccounted for, believed to be trapped beneath the rubble, as Israel's Home Front Command and Megan David Adam worked through the night using thermal drones and K9 units. The missile evaded the Iron Dome, either due to technical saturation or trajectory irregularity, prompting renewed questions about Israel's air defense resilience. According to IDF spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Hagari, this was a deliberate attack on civilians. Iran crossed a red line tonight. United States President Joe Biden immediately condemned the strike, calling it an escalation of the highest order and pledging unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself. An emergency meeting has been called with NATO allies and United Nations Security Council members. Social media is filled with first-hand videos of the moment the missile struck, flashes lighting up the skyline followed by screams and sirens. Multiple buildings suffered collateral damage, including a nearby school. The attack marks a dramatic escalation in tensions that have been simmering for months between Iran and Israel, especially after recent covert operations and military strikes attributed to both sides. Iranian state media claims the strike was retaliation for the assassination of IRGC commander Major Reza Karimi, which Tehran blames on Mossad operatives. Analysts say the strike was, designed to send a message not just to Israel but to the West. This missile was not fired from a proxy group or territory. It came directly from Iran, making it, honestly, one of the most direct assaults between the two nations in recent history. Behind the scenes, U.S. CENTCOM forces in the region have reportedly raised readiness levels to DEFCON 3, with aircraft carriers repositioned in the eastern Mediterranean. Jordan and Saudi Arabia have closed parts of their airspace. Yet the world watches nervously. Will Israel retaliate with full-scale strikes on Tehran? Could this spiral into a broader Middle East conflict? For civilians on both sides, the fear is already real, and honestly, it's growing. This wasn't just a missile, it was a geopolitical line being shattered in real time. To understand the gravity of what just happened, we have to step back. Iran's decision to launch a missile directly into Israeli territory wasn't made overnight. Intelligence analysts suggest this was premeditated, designed to test the limits of deterrence in a post-Afghanistan, post-Gaza, post-2024 world order. No warning, no ambiguity, a direct hit, a civilian target. That changes the rules. For decades, the Iranian regime operated through proxies. Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Iraq and Syria, Houthi rebels in Yemen. Even during high tensions, Tehran maintained a layer of deniability. That veil just came off. What Iran did was not just an attack, it was a declaration of capability. And in the absence of immediate consequence, it could become a declaration of intent. The failure of Israel's Iron Dome to intercept this missile is already raising serious defense concerns across Western capitals. Preliminary reports suggest that this missile, believed to be a Fateh-class variant modified for stealth entry, was fired in coordination with cyber-jamming efforts, possibly disabling early radar acquisition. This isn't just a military tactic, it's a psychological one. For the first time in years, Israeli citizens feel exposed, and American allies in the Gulf are asking, if it can happen to Tel Aviv, what about Riyadh? What about Abu Dhabi? In Washington, Pentagon briefings have become more urgent. The attack coincides with a strategic shift away from counterinsurgency and toward great power conflict. And now, Middle East deterrence has a new name-response credibility. For the United States, this moment isn't just about supporting an ally. It's about defending the integrity of the rules-based order that has kept open conflict at bay for generations. When a regime launches a long-range missile at civilians and walks away without consequence, what message does that send to North Korea, to Russia, to China? This isn't just Israel's red line, it's ours too. Because once the world accepts missile strikes on civilians as the new normal, the erosion of peace is not far behind. Make no mistake, the United States response here isn't optional. It's a litmus test for credibility. Failure to act with strategic resolve could signal weakness to adversaries worldwide. Amid the politics and military posturing, it's easy to forget who paid the real price: civilians. Children, elderly, families crushed beneath the weight of concrete and fire. A survivor interviewed on Channel 12 News, her face covered in dust and blood, said through tears, "I was holding my son's hand, and then he was just gone." Hospitals in Tel Aviv and Netanya are overwhelmed. Blood shortages have been declared, trauma centers are filled with children who will now grow up with physical and emotional scars. These are the unseen victims of geopolitics, collateral not on a map but in memory. In Europe, NATO member states have called for an emergency summit. Germany and the United Kingdom have condemned the attack, calling it, well, an act of state terror. Meanwhile, China and Russia have offered tepid responses, calling for, quote, both sides to show restraint, a phrase that, honestly, rings hollow in the aftermath of civilian slaughter. The United Nations Security Council is expected to convene within 24 hours. But, veto threats loom and many doubt real action will follow. This brings the conversation back to the streets. Because for every delay at the diplomatic level, fear spreads in the neighborhoods of Ashkelon, Haifa, and Tel Aviv. Schools remain closed. People sleep in underground shelters. The future feels uncertain again. What makes this moment so volatile isn't just the missile, it's what the missile represents. Iran didn't simply launch a projectile, it broadcast a message loud and clear: we can strike you, and we're not hiding anymore. That shift, from covert hostility to overt aggression, marks a dangerous pivot in Middle Eastern conflict dynamics. It signals the possible death of plausible deniability, and the rebirth of state-to-state warfare in a region already on edge. This isn't proxy warfare, this is a sovereign state using long-range weapons against another sovereign nation's civilians. For decades, even at their tensest, Tehran and Tel Aviv avoided direct hits on each other's population centers. This week changed that. Now the question becomes, how will Israel and by extension the United States respond? Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has publicly stated that all options are open. That includes targeted airstrikes on Iranian infrastructure, cyber offensives, and even special operations deep within Iranian territory. Behind closed doors, U.S. military analysts are weighing the costs and risks of joint response strategies. While a full-scale war is not the objective, credibility is. The calculus now is not just military, it's geopolitical. A measured response must reassert deterrence, avoid civilian casualties, and send a clear signal escalation will not go unanswered. Already United States aircraft in the Mediterranean have shifted into active status. B-52 bombers have been spotted refueling en route to the region. CENTCOM is now in forward posture. And intelligence chatter suggests Iran has mobilized defensive assets in anticipation of a counterstrike. At the United Nations, fault lines are forming fast. While the United States, United Kingdom and France have united in condemning Iran's actions, China and Russia have urged restraint, signaling a familiar split that, honestly, paralyzes global institutions in moments of crisis. The missile hit a building, but it cracked something deeper: global consensus on how far a nation can go before the world steps in. This divide has consequences. If Iran faces no coordinated international punishment, authoritarian states elsewhere will feel emboldened. The international order becomes a suggestion, not a standard. And that is perhaps the most dangerous aftershock of all. The fear now isn't just of retaliation, but of overreaction. A single misstep, an Israeli warplane shot down, a United States vessel hit, an Iranian general assassinated, could trigger a cascade of escalations. Hezbollah has already issued statements declaring solidarity with Iran. Hamas praised the missile strike as, resistance in action. And in Yemen, the Houthis launched 2 drones toward Eilat, intercepted by United States warships. The Middle East has seen war before, but a region-wide confrontation involving Iran, Israel, and possibly NATO forces could mark something the world hasn't seen in decades: a multi-front, modern state conflict with global consequences. In moments like this, the narrative often shifts towards strategy, power, retaliation. But there's a moral line too. When a regime targets sleeping civilians, when children become statistics, when rubble becomes a grave, it's not just a military crisis. It's a human one. What's at stake isn't just borders or alliances, it's the idea that civilian lives should never be fair game in a political agenda. That idea just took a direct hit. Now it's up to the world to rebuild it, or bury it forever.